to Introduction to Law, and I'm really excited about taking you on this journey where we're going to equip you over the next 12 weeks with the knowledge and skills that you need to study law and for your professional career beyond that. Before we do anything, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we work and learn, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and future. My name is Corbett-Jarvis and I'm the unit coordinator for this unit. I not only teach this unit, I also teach legal research, which you're likely to undertake in your second year or thereabouts if you follow the course planner. And I also teach an elective called legal drafting. Prior to coming to academia, I was a practicing barrister for a number of years, but I missed researching and writing about the law, and so I made my way back to academia and taught law at JCU in Cairns for 10 years before finding my way to CQU. My research interests are private international law, criminal law, and legal education, which really focuses on how we teach and build knowledge and skills in law students. It's research with a view to seeing improvement. So now let's move on to talking about the unit. Now, this unit provides a foundational introduction to key concepts and information that you will require to be able to go and study a unit like contract law, for example. There's also skills embedded into this unit, again, to help you proceed with your study in other units. So we'll look at, for example, the legal system and the role of lawyers within that system, and we'll talk about cases and statutes. So cases are the common law, judge-made law, and statutes come from Parliament. With that information and that knowledge, you can then hopefully understand cases and statutes that you read in contract law or criminal law, etc. It's important to remember, though, that what we're doing here is just providing you with a foundation. You will build upon this knowledge and these skills throughout your degree. We'll also talk about how to think like a lawyer and how to approach problem questions. So problem questions involve the presentation of some facts, and you're required to advise a character or a number of characters in that factual scenario. We'll also talk about how to approach theoretical essay questions. So an example might be that you're asked to discuss whether the law on provocation should be reformed. In that instance, there's no factual scenario, it's more of an abstract question, but you're required to analyse and critique the law. So we will be talking about how to approach those types of questions and what additional skills you might need to be able to tackle those questions, including legal research and communication skills. So legal research, for example, is an essential legal skill. It's not possible to study law or be a legal practitioner without the ability to engage in legal research. The law doesn't stand still, so by the time that you have completed your degree, there will have been cases that have overruled the existing law, or Parliament may have passed legislation that amends or introduces new law. So it's essential that you can locate those sources, interpret them, and then apply them to be able to advise a client. So legal research is an essential skill that you will use throughout your degree. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to be able to read the law, interpret, and then apply it in order to provide advice. So we'll be talking about that briefly as well. But that is another example of a skill that you will build on throughout your degree. So researching the law, reading the law, and interpreting and applying it, we get better at that through practice and through feedback, and then thinking about how we can improve what we do. As I've already mentioned, we will focus on communication skills as well, and this will be with a view to helping you identify what you need to provide in an assessment to get the best marks that you can. It's also about learning referencing conventions, so how to acknowledge sources, and adopting the convention of the Australian Guide to Legal Citation, which is the way that we cite legal sources. It's also about understanding how information should be set out and how we communicate information to a particular audience. Now, you may not realise it when we're teaching you certain things, but it's part of a big jigsaw. We're teaching them because they're they're important either now or later on, and it's important that you have that foundation as part of your big overall jigsaw, which is really focused on helping you guys to proceed through your first year equipped with what you need to be able to go and take those units like contract law and criminal law in your first year. I would like to point out though that you need to be kind to yourself and remember that you won't necessarily understand everything or have the maximum capability with the skills that we're talking about the first time that you do those things. It's about learning new skills and learning knowledge. It's a step-by-step process, and sometimes it takes a while to adjust, and that's all perfectly normal. So the first term is particularly an adjustment period for new law students. You need to learn how to be a law student, as well as learning the content for the units that you're undertaking, acquiring new skills that you will need to be able to study law and complete your assessment tasks. And you also need to learn what our expectations are of you in relation to assessment tasks as well. It's a really steep learning curve. And sometimes it'll feel like this. You'll have a good week and then a bad week and then a good week. That's all perfectly normal. And I'm here to help you through that. So if you have any difficulties or any questions, please just reach out. That's what I'm here for. This unit is designed to help you transition to life as a law student, but also to university generally. You will probably find that even if you have done some study prior to coming to law school, whether that's a short course as part of your work or a TAFE or VET course or high school or accreditation for your particular employment, law school is quite different. It's focused on independent learning, but in the context of learning from your peers. So the emphasis is on learning from each other in workshops and sharing ideas, and also with a view to continual improvement. So it will take a while to transition, but you will get there. And I think most of the students who were new in term 2 would now be able to say that they feel much more confident. It takes time, but eventually you get there. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the resources that are available in this unit. Hopefully you have made your way to Moodle and you've had a quick look around the site there. What you should be able to see is that there are, in essence, 5 key resources for each week. So the first thing is a study guide. Now this just provides an overview of the topic. It's really to assist you with identifying what's important in the readings. There are also lecture and key concept videos for you to watch. The lecture materials provide you with foundational information. They are linked to the content that's in the study guide. The key concept videos might go into more depth about a particular concept or topic within the week's materials. There's also reading materials set for each week. Now, we generally use the textbook, which is The New Lawyer, the 2nd edition. That is available as an ebook through the library. If you're going to purchase it, please make sure you get the 2nd edition because it's quite different from the first. There's an additional 4 chapters in the 2nd edition. Note that it's probably possible to obtain a second-hand copy of that book. We run Introduction to Law in every term, and that means that there are a number of students now who have completed the unit who might be looking to sell it. There is a link to the second-hand Facebook page, so Secondhand Books Facebook page in Moodle. In addition to the reading materials, we also have workshops. So weekly workshops which are conducted via Zoom in the evenings, and we have surgeries. Now these are Q&A sessions. You don't have to attend those. You can drop in and drop out as you have relevant questions. But those are our main resources. So study guides, lecture videos and key concept videos, reading materials, workshops and surgeries. Note also that there may be additional things that we post in specific weeks for you to look at in Moodle, like perhaps a YouTube video or a link to a website or a link to some materials that we would like you to look at. Okay, so an overview of those materials. Note that the study guide is a written guide to the topic. It is not lecture notes. It's not sufficient in terms of preparing for an assessment item. They're just a guide or an overview to help guide the work that you're doing at home. You will need to formulate your own notes around the textbook readings and the lecture videos and any other materials that you've looked at in that week. Note that the study guide has activities to complete. There's usually some self-test questions at the back, so you can just see how you're going with the content. And it provides the textbook readings at the beginning of the study guide, so you know which chapter in the textbook you need to read as part of your preparation. Now, in the study guide at the very back are some workshop questions. These are the questions that we will discuss in the weekly workshop, and they normally require your preparation in advance of the workshop. So before you attempt the workshop questions, though, it's a good idea to not only look at the study guide, but look at the lecture videos and the key concept videos, complete the reading in the textbook, and look at any other materials that we've put on Moodle there for you. Once you have looked at the study guide, the readings for that week, the lecture video and key concepts video, and any other materials that we have indicated on Moodle, you are then ready to attempt the workshop questions. Note that it's really important to have a go at the workshop questions. It doesn't matter if you're not on the right track. If you go to the workshop and subsequently find that you're not on the right track, that's absolutely fine. We're not expecting a perfect answer. The reason why we want you to have a go at the workshop questions is that you'll gain more out of the workshop if you do so. For example, you will have more context, more knowledge, and therefore can engage on a different level with your peers in the workshop when discussing the content. It will enable you to review what you prepared for the workshop, identify what you got right and things that you need to work on, and then subsequently go and improve that workshop answer. Note that the workshops are designed to help you prepare for assessments, so it's really important to review the workshop after your attendance and identify if there are any areas that you need to work on and do a bit more reading, or you need to ask some questions of your lecturer in order to be able to understand the content. So you'll gain a lot more out of it if you've had a go at the question, and then you can review how you did. Note that the workshops are a place where we share ideas and discuss questions. It's not like a lecture. I'm not going to talk at you for the whole time. The idea is that we share our thoughts and we work collectively together to try and identify, for example, what advice we should give a character in a problem question. We're much more likely to identify all the possible legal issues and the likely outcome at trial if we work together as a team, and so that's the purpose of the workshop. So to be in a good position to discuss your thoughts, it's really important that you come to the workshop prepared. Now, having said all that, you'll obviously gain the most benefit from the workshops if you can attend them, but they are recorded, so you will be able to view them at a time to suit you if you cannot make the session. As I say, if possible, please try and do so. You'll gain the most out of the session if you do that, but if you can't, then you are able to watch the workshops at a time that suits you. In addition to the weekly workshops, we also have a surgery hour on Microsoft Teams. Now, this is a drop-in and drop-out session. You can just attend if you want to ask a question, and that question can be about the content that we've covered, or it could be about studying law or just studying generally if you have some questions about study skills, for example. No questions too silly at this stage in your studies. It's going to be text-based though, so it will take place through Teams, and you'll type your question into the chat in the Q&A surgery area of Microsoft Teams site, and then I will be online to respond during that surgery hour. Now this week, nothing too difficult. I would like you to focus on how to use the technology. So log into Moodle, have a look around the site. You'll see that there are tiles for each week. have a look at the content throughout the unit for the whole 12 weeks, look at how the resources are set out, and have a look at the class schedule, because that includes a link to the Zoom class. So have a look at Zoom. If you're not sure how to use Zoom, there is a guide in the How to Study Law tile, a guide on how to use Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So check those out if you're unfamiliar with either of those. Now, Microsoft Teams is not usually fully available until week 1. So at some point in week 1, you will be enrolled in Microsoft Teams and you'll be able to access it. As soon as that's available, make sure you have a look around that. I've got a channel in Microsoft Teams for the Q&A surgeries that I was just talking about. There's also a channel where you can discuss the weekly workshop content and you can share ideas with your peers in advance of the workshops if you want to. And I would also like to set up some study groups for you guys, but we'll talk more about that in the workshop in week 1. Now, the other thing is to make sure that if you're not going to purchase the textbook and you're going to rely on the library electronic copy, that you know how to find that in the library. And remember that I said that you need to find the second edition of the New Lawyer, because the first one does not contain as much material as the second edition, and the second is much more extensive. So spend some time working out how to find that through the library site, or alternatively make sure that you find your textbook, whether secondhand or new, in this time that you have before we commence the unit. Now, one of the great things about studying online is that you don't have to take the materials week by week if you don't want to. You could actually look at several weeks in one go and undertake the work for those units in advance of when we're scheduled to do them. So, for example, it's quite usual for a lot of assessment to be released or due in or around week 6. So you may find that if you're taking more than one unit, that you have a lot of assessment due in that week 6 to week 8 period. It might therefore be a good idea to get ahead and look at weeks, say 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, as soon as you can. And there is the flexibility to do that with an online unit like this. Make sure that you go through the study guide, the lecture materials, and key concept videos and other materials ahead of time, but still please come to the workshop in accordance with the schedule, because it's important to make sure that we learn how we can improve our work through the feedback that we receive from the tutor and that we receive from our peers. But note that all modules are available to you right now, so find what works for you. There's certainly flexibility there. If you are a fly-in, fly-out or shift worker, find what works for you in terms of routine and feel free to work through the content at an advanced rate. Now, as I've already said, there will be times when you feel like things are going well and then it's difficult and then it's going well again. That sort of up and down effect is completely natural. But if you need additional support and you want to chat about work-life balance, I know all about that, I have 2 kids, or you need some assistance getting through big assessment concentrations, or you just want some guidance about how to improve your general study skills or specifically your law skills, that's what we're here for. Please don't feel alone. Even though you're online and you're at the other end of a computer, we are here to help you through this term. So we all want to see you get through to week 12, but not only that, do so well. So please remember that we are here to support you. Now, a final tip in relation to studying is that if you are struggling, if say the content is quite hard and you feel like you're not getting on top of it, please don't do nothing. No, that's a double negative, but please do something. Doing something is better than nothing at all. You may find that doing something still provides you with a foundation, and then you come to the workshop and it all unlocks and it all becomes clear for you. So please make sure that you do something, because something is better than nothing, and then reach out to your peers, perhaps on MS Teams, or reach out to me and we can try and help you through whatever it is that is difficult for you to grasp. Final point before I let you go, note that your peers could eventually become your colleagues at work in the future. The legal profession and many other professions are collegiate and supportive. So start offering support to others and be prepared to receive support from peers when you need it, as you are embarking on a learning journey together. And there's absolutely no reason why you cannot support each other and help facilitate each other's development through to becoming a law graduate. And with that in mind, it might be a good idea to create a study group of people who are in your location, or people who are studying the same units as you at the same time, so that you can have that supportive environment outside of the weekly workshops on Zoom. So that's it from me. I look forward to seeing you very soon in our first workshop in week 1. I hope that you have a really enjoyable week, and please reach out if you have any questions. I will see you soon.